Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. This is our second graduating lecture by Mr. Mario Gabelli on life lessons. And it is an absolute honor for us to have Mr. Mario Gabelli, who has come all the way from New York to speak with our seniors, and I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to him for this and for all his support for the school, both financially as well as and intellectually. And believe me when I say this, that it is a lot more than what we can ever thank him for. This is the second time that he has been here to speak with our graduates, and I can speak from the experience of last year. This is an invaluable experience, and I hope all of you make the most of his talk today. I would also like to now welcome the chair of our Board of Trustees and acting president, Ms. Heather Bourgeoulien, to come and introduce Mr. Gabelli. Thank you so much, Heather, for your support for everything at the Gabelli School of Business.
Thanks so much, Dia. Good morning, everyone. I love seeing this packed house. It's great. It's going to be a great discussion. As the chair of the Board of Trustees, it's my great pleasure to introduce a distinguished leader, an unparalleled investor, and a steadfast supporter of the university, Mr. Mario Gabelli. Today we celebrate the achievements of our graduating students and prepare them to step into the world beyond these halls, these windows, and our beautiful campus. We have the honor of hearing from someone whose life and career embody the values of hard work, vision, and perseverance. And I think it all started when you were 8. Is that
5?
5? I thought so. No pressure. Mr. Gabelli is the chairman and CEO of Gamco Investors, Inc., the firm he founded in 1977. A summa cum laude graduate from Fordham, he went to earn his MBA at Columbia Business School and has received honorary doctorates from both Fordham and here at Roger Williams. His impact on the world of finance is truly unparalleled. He's recognized as Morningstar's Portfolio Manager of the Year and has also been recognized as an Institutional Investors Money Manager of the Year and also as a member of Barron's All-Star Century Team. Mario's deep-rooted commitment to education has left a lasting mark on the university. He's been a trustee since 1990. We've bent some rules to make sure that he stays a trustee, which is good. And we're very appreciative of that. And he's been a very proud supporter of the university for decades. He's played an instrumental role in advancing Roger Williams' mission by providing opportunity to students and having a strong work ethic. The naming of the business school of the Mario J. Gabelli School of Business in '95 was just really one testament to his belief in fostering future business leaders. His recent multi-million-dollar pledges, including funding the Gabelli Scholars Program and endowed positions at the business school, further demonstrate his dedication to empowering the next generation. Born in the Bronx to Italian immigrants, Mario's journey from Fordham to Columbia to leading a global investment powerhouse reminds us of the power of education, hard work, perseverance, and I have to say grit, too. Today he serves on numerous boards, including those of Boston College, Columbia Business School, and of course Roger Williams, and he continues to champion causes that uplift his students and scholars alike. Graduates, you're about to hear from a man who not only shaped industries, but also changed lives. Through his philanthropy and mentorship, he's been a leader in the industry. His insights will no doubt give you inspiration as you embark on the rest of this semester and enter your own professional journeys. So please join me in welcoming Mario.
Well, thank you. I'm sure you can hear me. Yes? Yes. All right. I came here because I wanted to talk about the world that we're living in. When you have challenges like this, starting with what happened in Wuhan, what happened in the banking crisis, what's going on in the geopolitical world, this is the greatest opportunity for you to be at school learning how to help the world. So I'm going to go through a few slides and then we'll do some Q&A, but unfortunately, given the amount of intellectual talent in this room, I'm going to have to do the slides very quickly because I know that you have a lot of questions to ask. So thank you for that introduction. Sounds like I was reading your biography when you're reading mine. So thank you for serving here. So I'm trying to also figure out how to make fun, even though the doc here is going to dock me for not doing it fast enough. So, Roger Williams. What happened was that I started as a sell-side analyst, that is working for a firm in 1967, basically that, like many firms at the time, sold research for commission dollars. One of the areas that I picked up was autos, farm equipment, and conglomerates. Another area was broadcasting and entertainment. And one of the companies that I followed was in downtown Providence called the Outlet Company. The Outlet Company had TV stations along with the department store outlet, as well as women's apparel stores called Cherry and Webb. One of the individuals that ran it, Dodie Sinclair, was also responsible for building the Newport facilities. Another one, Bruce Sutherland, became governor. And bottom line, I would come up here and then I got, if you're driving from Manhattan or New York City or Westchester, you do it in 2 hours. I know. I follow the speed limits, 3 hours. Bottom line, you come up and you spend an hour and a half, you exhaust your knowledge, the management's knowledge of what you want to know. So I found other companies. One of them was a company called Nortec. Nortec also had 2 individuals that further got involved with Roger Williams, and that's how I got involved with Roger Williams, somewhere in the late 1980s, early 90s. So that's the background. Nice to see you all. Sorry you're doing this. Welcome again. And we're talking about March Madness. No, it's not the basketball. Every year in the month of March, the stock market has a little challenge. Today it has a little challenge because when November came along, there were certain things that said we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, all those things were coming at a time and it created confusion. Stocks went down. But the one that we really want to talk about is filling in your bracket. Okay? So you know who's left in the Sweet 16. And, you got that and you all went to there. This is me. And who are we? This is a firm. We have 180 individuals, 30 or 40 analysts, 24 portfolio managers. These are some of the graduates from here. Somebody just asked me about, was it Hadley Avery? I think she was a student and then she started at work me and then started her own firm. These are the undergraduate schools that we have, of which we have about 180 individuals, about 150 represented, and this is obviously an important one. 1977, I decided, for whatever reason, to start a firm. There were 3 or 4 of us in the world that started. Inflation was X, and interest rates were like 12%. My first mortgage is a house I paid for $33,000. It was 6% interest. I thought I was getting a bargain. So when today you're buying a mortgage, and I have to leverage it. Never mind, I don't want to get into that one. So what I do is look at a company. Our analysts look at it. Today, 47 annual reports arrived at my office. And I asked for the analysts to put spreadsheets on it, and I'm going to be able to read some of them. Over the weekend, I had 15. So this is us, okay? We started a firm. We spun off a couple of businesses. My midnight job, as I mentioned earlier today to a bunch of you, I run telephone companies that are publicly traded. But this is the money management business. So we have SMAs, Assembly Managed Account, and mutual funds, okay? We have research offices. Doc took some of you to the one in London. You met some of my teammates. You learned about PMV. It's not a, anybody religious? Anybody going to be offended? It's not a sex term. It's private market value. And then we have offices in Shanghai. We had somebody working for us in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, he disappeared on us. We found out who he was okay, though. And then we have one in Tokyo, and we do research globally. And I go over the world of which you're a part. I want you to realize one of you is going to start a business. And the individuals next to you are going to be your investors. It's whether it's real estate or something. So venture capital, private equity, some of you will become financial important than at a university. That's a challenge. So let's talk about your world, okay? When I started the firm, I've gone through 8 recessions since I started in 1967. So if somebody tells you you're going to have a recession, great opportunity. The stock market, all shares publicly traded times the price, in 1977 when I started, were $1.6 trillion. It was like buying the island of Manhattan for $24. Things were cheap, and that's why I was willing to start. As of December 24, they were 124 trillion. Okay? It's not a big number. Bottom line, here's what happened. Oops, let's go back one. In 1977, the market was 1.6, today it's 123. Okay? The point I'm going to make is different. When I started in business, the United States, the country of meritocracy, the rule of law, and basically free markets, the total market value in 1977 was 1.6 trillion. Today, we were at the time, the U.S. was 90%. Today, it's 50% of the world. So you want to think globally. So the U.S. equity markets are 62 trillion. And by the way, if you don't write this down, you're going to have an exam. You think I'm kidding, huh? The door is locked. Then the fixed income market, same thing. Why is this important? Because you're going to start a business. You're going to advise somebody. You're going to have a friend that's going to inherit some money. You're going to have a friend that's going to get hit by a car and get some money, and they need your advice. So that's why it's important to understand how to help people avoid shams and how to make returns for long term. So from a century of investing, if I was here in 1927, I know the way I look, you'd think I was here. No. That's only 100 years ago. Stop, relax. Basically, these are the down decades, and you basically would have earned 10%. So when the world sounds boring and dull, 40 years from now, when you'll be younger than I am today, some of us, the market will be $1 million, assuming we are still on the course of the, and those are the kinds of things. So short term, 5 years ago, March of 2020, if you were playing Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto, and all of a sudden somebody says, why don't you buy some stocks, and you started to day trade on Robinhood, you know, the mindset of daily trading, daily mark-to-market, that has become embedded in quants, algos, momos in the world that we're part of today. Betting on games. Well, we are investors. We think long-term, so like marathon runners. And today, I'll talk about a crisis. It's not, to me, it's not a crisis. To me, these are challenges and opportunities. For you, it's a challenge. The best time to come out of school is to work in a world in which there's uncertainty, where there's a world in which needs your help. And that's what you're doing. Just think about the impact that you're going to have over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so, obviously, I mentioned, you know, there's always some challenges. Food, energy, water, and geopolitics. What are you going to do? We'll talk about it. From my end, short term, I'm thinking about the debt of the United States and the deficit. The United States, the world has $115 trillion GDP. What's that mean? Goods and services and blah, blah, blah. Of that amount, the United States is 25%. So we're, with 380 million people, we have 25% of the world. However, we have a lot of debt. And you'll hear the numbers, and I'll talk about that later. And we have a structural deficit. We spent $7 trillion, we take in $5 trillion. So how do you get out of that mess? How does a university like Roger Williams flourish? They raise revenues by attracting smart individuals like you, and they also try to help out financially, but they also have to watch their costs. The United States has to do that. So things that I'm thinking about are tax, tariff, regulations, and by the numbers, the USA, these are the numbers that I talked about. You can't see it, can you? No. It's hard to read, but you guys' eyes are better than mine. So the world is 115 trillion. This is International Monetary Fund comes out with the data. No need to recommend. 25% is the U.S. China is 17%. So if I'm running China, I have to do something right now. They used to call it common prosperity. I need to help the citizens of the country participate in the economic activity. Obviously, we worry about geopolitical things. Debt and deficits, you can't read this, but that's okay if you want it. We as a country spend $7 trillion, we take in 5, you're out of pocket $2 trillion. Not complicated. Just borrow the money and pay for it. And there's some unknown implications of that, which creates a terrific opportunity for everyone to figure it out. And then there's the other thing. Here's the, let me go back. Can you see that? If you look at the assets of the American household at the end of the fourth quarter of 2024, it's $190 trillion. The liabilities, the assets are up almost $100 trillion, and the liabilities are up 6. The biggest challenge we have is this. So that's the net worth. Student loans. There's no question. When I went to school, I was very fortunate. Tuition was X. I was fortunate. I got a caddy scholarship, not for playing caddy. I got some, but I couldn't leave the state of New York at the time. So if I owed money, what I want you to do today is we're going to try to get the government, they're not listening, to allow you to pay this tax off with pre-tax dollars. Okay, and so you're going to earn to pay, and the student loans are a challenge. We have to figure that out. The opportunities I talk about is not complicated. I'll do this maybe faster, so keep your seatbelts fastened. This is one of my favorite. Okay, when I'm thinking about Grand Theft Auto number 6 coming out, somebody always says you can't do it. No, just tell them, go, if you got an idea, and even if it doesn't work, just do it, and do it again. Just think about this guy, Bill something Gates. Basically, you know, he dropped out of school. Don't do that. This is one of my cousins. I know, I shave. We own Edgewell, stop. They own the shaving equipment. It's not the strongest, not the smartest, but being flexible. Adopt to the world around you. Do it. And if anybody says you can't do it, you know, use your own language. And this is another cousin, Schumpeter, and he came up with the idea of creative innovation. Just come up with ideas and so on. AI and EV. Wow, that's fantastic. What is that going to do for us? What does that mean? And what are the needs to do that? And what does NVIDIA do? What do the other companies do that provide energy? And then, obviously, the utilities. I just got a bill for the month of February, and we could reduce everything constant, same amount of weather conditions, thermal energy. If we could have a pipeline going from Marcellus in Pennsylvania to New England, you'd cut it down by 30%. So these are things like areas that we cover. These are reports written by my teammates in terms of coverage here. Video game industry. Okay? Assassin's Creed. Anybody know what that is? Raise your hand. Come on, everybody raise their hand. Yeah, exactly. Assassin's Creed number, what, 13 or 12? What is it? It's coming out. It was just out. One of my guys has to play the game, which he could have done even if I didn't ask him, to tell me how it works so that we look at a company publicly traded called Ubisoft and so on. Soccer. Some of you played lacrosse. Which one was that? You, I figured as much. Basically, soccer. Just think about the Boston Celtics. Wick sells the company for $6.1 billion. What does the San Francisco team sell for, the Giants? So when I look at those dynamics on a global basis, what would I pay? Our clients own a big piece publicly traded at the Atlanta Braves. So these are the reports that we wrote on. These are the ones in Europe. There's one in Mexico City. The World Soccer will be next year played both at the stadium in Mexico City, which is publicly trading, and the one in that place, what's that called? New Jersey. MetLife. So flying into the future. One of my analysts, I met him about 15 years ago. Whatever we were doing, he couldn't do anything. He flew F-18s, was out of that famous place on the West Coast, and I hired him. He covers my refuse company. So company A takes garbage up, picks it up. He started doing that. Then he said, I'm going to start following the commercial aviation, and he goes to these various locations. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Air Force, graduated from the school in Maryland. Ideas and innovation, one of them, the digital revolution. You're all part of it. The guy you're looking at is a Neanderthal. I'm what they call a Luddite. You know what a Luddite is? That's me. Okay, the Luddites would, if you go into Fowl River and you go over the bridge, you'll see factories that were there that moved south. If 1844 I was in London, I would probably object to the looms because I figured they would create unemployment. Okay, here's the AI. Ready? 1977, there's a movie called Star Wars. They had AI. Here's the two guys that I know. You know who that is? What are they? R2-D2 and C-3PO? Exactly. So when we think about having robots, just think about that. Now, however, a few years later, I met this guy. You're doing venture capital, right? It's not who you care about. It's not what they look like. What is the idea? And before you invest or even ask for money, just remember, take a coin, flip it, and then look at the back. What does it say? In God we trust. We do that in research, but we also want to verify. Never mind, I don't want to get into that one. Anyway, these guys did okay. The guy on your lower left, you know who that is, right? They told him don't do it. This is what they looked like 25 years ago. And this is why I also want to be, I'm delighted I'm in Bristol. And I'm delighted I'm here on the campus. I all want you to start thinking, how do I create options in my life? I want to have options in my career. I want to be told that I can tell somebody what to do. You see this? Get rid of it. One less coffee per day. Oh, that's old. I would have had something else. Right now with Heineken Zero. Okay, Guinness Zero. I got it. What am I saying? Do not visit this place. Okay?
You heard him, everyone.
Why am I saying that? Because somebody, if you're working, I want you to start a Roth IRA. If you put less coffee, one less drink, even if you have a mocktail, just think about it. You start even a few years later. If you start at the age of 25, if you start now, it's even better. And you make 6%, 8%, look what you're going to have. It keeps your options open. Okay? You want to keep compounding returns. So we're going to talk about starting a Roth IRA for you. Either at Schwab or Fidelity. If you like Fidelity up in Boston, they're also here in Rhode Island. Abigail Johnson runs it. She's doing a great job. What do we like to hire? You had a guy up here that was playing a Cinderella team, PhD. I called him XYZ before, poor, hungry, and driven. Then it became privileged, hungry, and driven. Rick Pitino wrote about it on his book on A Road to Success. Came into my office because he was looking for a basketball, had a basketball player by the name of Joel Mashburn. He said, I need some money managers. Tell me how you hire analysts. I said, they're PhDs. He came up with a new one. It's called Passionate, Hungry, and Driven. So whatever you are, keep doing it. Like, think about sports teams. And we'll show you, where's Amy?
Right here.
Right here. In a minute, you'll see what I'm going to ask you about. What did Gretzky say? Keep your options open. Don't tell me what's going on today. Tell me where the world is going. You will make a difference. That's why I'm excited to be here. Okay? The world needs you. One of you is going to be the next, I don't want to say governor. So keep doing what you love, okay? That guy's still doing it. She's doing it. What can I tell you? What can I tell you, you know? And this is Ice Spice. She's a pal of hers. Why? Because I like her because she grew up about 4 blocks from where I grew up in the Bronx. And obviously, some of you don't know Olivia Rodrigo, but she's another one of those rising stars. This guy hurts me because I hate the Eagles. So it is what it is, okay? And clearly, you know, the other problem is growing up in the Bronx, you're a Yankee fan. So, you know, it is what it is. I share the good and bad with you. And sports, manage his money. He did better than the guy that took it and bet and gambled. Oh, come on. Okay, what do we do every day? We gather information, array it, project it, interpret, communicate. I go out and see companies at their headquarters. So when Textron is in town, I'll see them. When they come to our conference, I'll see them. Textron is located here. Go visit the IR guy when they have an earnings release. Every quarter, 4 companies give earnings releases. You can get on them on Zoom. You can figure out what they're doing. You can listen to the questions people ask. You can say, hey, how do they sell? How do they market? What are their economics? What's the country? What kind of things are they doing? So for the last 60 years, I've been doing it 4 times a year. That's 240 earnings calls. Multiply that with all the companies we follow. Gap it. Gather, array the data. Project and interpret it. We are investors and not traders. Okay? And we do fundamental research. So gather, array, project, and interpret. And obviously, to some degree, we're using some new data gathering mechanics. I go see companies. I was down in Dallas for a different reason. I went to see a company called Flowserve in a low-income community. I saw another company called Trinity. They make rail car equipment. Nothing like visiting companies, going to conferences. You are all invited. We as a firm have 11 conferences. You're all invited to all of them. Remote. Zoom. So we have a certain intensity. Here's a conference. This is our schedule for this year. Okay? I can't.
We'll be there for your value conference in Omaha.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. This one here is this week on December 3rd.
Yep.
These are companies that help our environment. These are companies that help recycle. Randpack, for example, takes cardboard, repackages it, and when you get it from Amazon in that box, they make that sort of stuff. And we had a company here called Casella Waste, which is located somewhere in this area. The stock's gone from $5 to $130. Take a little while. Here we have one on media and entertainment. Someone asked me about that. We're having companies that are talking about television. We're talking about the IR person from just wrote to me about Netflix, talked to me about other companies. What are we going to learn about that dynamic? If 100% of the U.S. population can get TikTok, what percentage can have TV stations owned by one entity? Is that going to change? And so how do I make money of that? Energy? We have there's a company in Buffalo called National Fuel and Gas. It was started 110 years ago. What did they do? Well, they supplied natural gas to the people that lived in Buffalo. Not complicated. Then one of them said, let's buy some land. So they bought 1 million acres of land between West Virginia and New York. And they used to drill 1,000 feet down, get nat gas. That well would run dry in a year or two. They would then cap it, fill it up with gas as storage in the wintertime. Then somebody came along and said, we can do fracking. They have 1 million acres in the Marcellus, 10,000 feet below sea level. And they have that same acreage down to the planet of the Earth. But they're also extremely well run. And they are in the last 5 years. Sports. How much can you pay for a team? Why not buy one share of the Atlanta Braves for $39. We think it's worth $55. Oh, I know, I hate to do this. How many of you are Celtics fans? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You know, you gotta be. However, being in New York, we have this other team. You can buy the Knicks and you get the Rangers for free. You buy one share right now in Madison Square Garden Sports. They have 24 million shares. 24 times 200 is 4.8 billion. $6.1 billion for the entire Celtics. You can buy the entire Madison Square Garden for 4.8 billion, and you get the Knicks and the Rangers and no debt because it's covered by some other assets they have. So that's why we buy it for our clients in the public markets. Not complicated. We do the same thing with soccer. Okay, this is going to be my last slide. I know, thank you. You're welcome. One of the movies that I liked, since I followed the movie industry aside from Star Wars, was one called Back to the Future. So if I showed it to you, it's kind of a little, it was X-rated. Today it's probably a GP, but I'm going to show you a scene that may have been partly X-rated. Is that okay?
I'm so proud. Proud. What are you going to do now?
I was going to go upstairs for a minute.
Oh, I missed it, your future. You're lying.
Well, that's a little hard to say.
Ben, don't laugh.
Excuse me. Mr. McGuire.
Ben,
Mr. McGuire.
come a bit a minute. I want to talk to you. Excuse us, Joanne. Thanks.
This is a classic scene of the 1960s.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. What do you think about it?
Yes, I will.
You know, that was really not what he was expecting. And I'm not going to tell you anymore. You can look it up and get 30 seconds on one of your devices. Here's the version that I would write today, how to get rid of plastics. But I will show you another version that I think is very important today. Today, this is the most important thing you can listen to.
I just want to say one thing to you. Just one thing.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Roger Williams University. There's a great future at Roger Williams University.
Think about it. What do you think about it?
Yes, I will.
And that's the point of keeping your options open. Okay, that's us.
Thank you, my friend.
What I tried to cover was what we do every day. Unfortunately, it took a little extra time. Some of my help, the guys that put it together, put some slides in on March Madness, but they thought I was going to talk about the stock market, and they went to the stick and basketball. I am still in it, even though a lot of my teams have been knocked out.
All right. Well, everyone, listen, we're going to open up the floor for a little Q&A right now. And of course, you know, I have a few questions, but they don't remember. I'll just be Phil Donahue right now and just walk around and see if anybody that happens to have a question for Mr. Gabelli, please ask, and I'll be happy to pass the microphone. Or I could put the provost on the spot and literally just walk over. Anyone, questions? All right. Prop, I should have known you'd lead us off. There you go, my boy.
I can't sit here. It's tiring to sit down.
So, Mr. Gabelli, thank you for coming today. Obviously, you've been a very successful man for a very, very long time. And I'm curious, is it your desire to leave the world a better place that keeps you going?
Yeah, you know, the mic's not working well. Can you?
Don't worry, we've got this for you.
I know.
Here, I'll just speak up. Is it?
No, but just yell it out.
I apologize.
No,
Okay,
don't apologize. Just yell it.
You've been very successful, and is it your
I
desire?
can't hear that.
Is it your desire to leave the world a better place that keeps you investing?
Listen, I like what I do. Okay, I like the intensity of change. I like the fact that you look at companies all the time that are adopting to the world that we're a part, and then you try to figure out companies that will exaggerate the fundamentals. And that happens. So I haven't been successful. I just don't confuse a brains with a bull market. When I started on Wall Street, the Dow was 1,000. In 1983, it was still 1,000. We made a lot of money for clients during that period. Our mantra is make money for the client, make money for our teammates, and make money for the shareholders that own the company. So over the next 40 years, you're going to have fantastic opportunities as long as the free market, the world, the rule of law, and meritocracy, which is what is the underpinning of education, continues to flourish. And that's what we have to protect. Good question. Thank you.
Mr. Gabelli, you touched briefly upon algo trading and kind of the availability to trade to more people who are kind of younger, 18 years old through Robinhood. As a value investor, how have you sort of adapted your strategy? Because you see news, catalysts, having more drivers, more black swan events in the market.
Yeah, that's okay. Basically, we look at each company one at a time. By the way, the question is fairly simple. The world of trading, daily trading with algos, Momo investing, quants, ETFs, exaggerates the volatility in the world. And what do we do in that regard? Well, we have to adopt the ETFs because unfortunately they have a major tax advantage for taxable clients. The government should get rid of that, but that's not, carried interest should be eliminated. I got a lot of tax reasons. But independent of that, a company's economic intrinsic value does not change because based on a headline. If I'm running a company today and I've learned how to manipulate the data, my headline would say, we had great results, and then the text would say, well, maybe we missed this and we have to reduce our results and we got too much leverage and interest expenses killing us. Since the Momos and the algos were taking it off the headline, that stock would be up 10% in the morning. So you got to read through the data. So when you're doing your 4 stocks a day that you're commenting on or whatever you do, that would be something that you have to be aware of. Secondly, if you're running a company, you have to understand how the algos take your data and how they manipulate it and how they use it. Beyond that, we have a company that sells XYZ and they sell it on a recurring basis and they have subscription revenue. Let's take Spotify. What is going on with Spotify? How much is due to Taylor Swift? How much is due to, the other talent that they have? What are the recurring revenues worth? Can they price higher? Those things are more fundamental and longer lasting. Question right here. No, I can't see. Who's asking?
Mr. Gabelli, it's very clear that the current administration wants interest rates to go down. However, do you think that's what we really need in the economy? And specifically for people our age, do you think that we really want to see interest rates going down?
Well, as I said to you, in 1967, we had something called the Nifty 50 that ballooned all the stocks up. Then we had guns and butter. You cannot have guns and butter without some inflation, and that's what we're having now. Just remember that economic term. And forget that part. We as a country owe $39 trillion. We as a country have $10 trillion that are coming up this year for renewal. The interest rate on that is going to go up any 50 to 100 basis points. 50 basis points is X dollars. Think about the fact that interest expenses, part of the payments are close to $1 trillion. Okay? So that's the issue. Do I worry about higher interest rates? I bake that into my analysis because the multiple that people are willing to pay for a business. If you're starting a business and you're trying to raise money, what are they going to think about? If you're going to start venture capital, what is the mindset of those that you're talking to? And they have two things, interest rates, confidence, obviously, and taxes.
Questions? Anyone?
I don't know if that answers the question, but too bad if it doesn't.
Take on, my man.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Mr. Gabelli. My name is Will McDonald. I'm from York Beach, Maine. And I'm curious, what was the catalyst to you starting your own fund? And what were the early challenges that you faced when you started your own fund, and how did you navigate them?
Oh, I had 3.5 kids and I had to pay bills. In 1976, the firm I was with, William D. Witter, merged into Drexel Burnham. Drexel Burnham was a very large firm. I didn't want to work for a large firm. I had a habit already about telling people what I was doing, and if they asked me to do something else, I would share them my thought process. Keep your options open. Work, if you're working for someone, but I had already been working for 8 or 9 years, so I knew what I was doing. Learn and accumulate compound knowledge, and then that knowledge will give you options. So what happened is some people were asking me to join them. Okay, you know, blah, 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 blah. My compensation, by the way, when I first graduated was $11,300 out of blah, blah, and I owed some money to the schools, even though I had free tuition. I had 2 kids by the time I graduated. So I had 3.5 children at the time in 1977. So I'm in Denver, and I'm having breakfast with a guy that I knew forever that started a company that today is called Janus. Mario, why don't you start your own firm? Oh. So that's the background. Somebody suggested, and I said, within 30 days, I resigned, not having raised the money to start my own firm. So I took my research, and nobody would join me because they all wanted a compensation. Okay? John Hathaway was one of the better gold analysts. My classmate at Columbia, she wouldn't join me. So I wrote research and I sold it to General Motors, would pay it, and some others, so I got some cash. I'm in Toronto, middle of January, 3rd week of January, visiting a company that was selling shock absorbers and auto parts. Jack Vanderhout was a public company, Vanderhout Associates. I'm there to learn about an update on the Canadian market because I'm covering the auto industry, among other things. After about an hour, Jack says, Mario, you've exhausted me. Tell me about your business. So I blah, 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 blah. He said, looks at me, he says, you're going to fail. I said, Jack, I sent you reports and you made a lot of money on my site. He said, I made a lot of money. He opens his drawer, gives me a check, and became my first client. He said, you forgot the 11th commandment. Remember that. The 11th commandment. Remember the 11th commandment. If you don't ask, you don't get. So that has been embraced on my arm. I'm not not the guys that are the Venezuelan gang, just the 11th commandment. So that's what happened. And because of that, we survived. And I added a couple of people, blah, 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 blah. And a couple of other things happened, but that's beside the point. The answer is just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you pushed for us to start our own Roth IRA, and so from your
say it again, what?
Yeah, so in your presentation you covered the importance of a Roth IRA, and so with that, if you were in our shoes today, looking for the next 30, 40 years, what are some things that you would invest in now that you think would make a tangible difference in the world?
You know what, be flexible. The point is, keep your options open, okay? Create, one of your friends is going to come up with an idea. He's going to come up with a venture capital idea to invest money. Look at it, but don't put a lot in. Just diversify a little bit. And the world will change. In 1976, when I started, there were a lot of things that went on. We had an economic recession. Stocks collapsed. The banks in the United States did one thing. They started buying what they call 50 stocks. The Nifty 50. Polaroid, Xerox, I give you International Harvard, blah, blah, blah. They all went out of business. So 40 years from now, if you put it into a T-bill, just think about what happened in Germany in 1923 or what happened in Zimbabwe. The world changes, but the point is that you're compounding assets without any taxes. Okay, and as a result of that, that compounding rate can do very well. My own gut tells me if you buy an ETF, S&P, you'll make 8.5% to 9% versus the 10.4 of the last 40 years, or 100 years, because it's starting off at too high a multiple. But the point is just do it. How many are in this room right now? 75. Okay, we're gonna give $100 to everybody to start their own IRA, okay? Just give me your names, and I'll give it to you if you gotta match it, so that you'll start one, okay?
Do I get
Roth IRA. Yeah, Doc, you want $100? I'll flip you for $1. What's your favorite, oh, you don't have any basketball teams left.
No, I don't.
That's too bad. Remember, if you're in this room and you worked at any time in 2024, you can put that IRA money in your money into a Roth, and I'll give you $100 to match. So you got $200 to start. You're going to start. That takes up. If you go to Newport and have a drink at XYZ bar, it'll cost you $20. So just eliminate 2 of those drinks. The good news is you don't have to pay a toll. Never mind. So the Mount Holton Bridge needs some help. What do you got?
Hi, Mr. Gabelli. You talked about AI in your presentation a lot. We seem to be in a very tech-driven market. Do you see that changing anytime soon with a seemingly lack of innovation in the tech industry right now? And if so, what would drive the market if not tech?
I don't care about the market being driven. I care about the fact that technology and innovation and the notion of gathering data. I had to give a speech one time, not too long ago, and it was to the ex-governor of Nevada. So I asked to get a speech, and it was brilliant. He comes up to me and says, you know, I wasn't there, I didn't do that, I didn't go to that school, so you got to check if you're doing fact checking. On the other side of the coin, it's going to help, no different than other forms of machinery. Now, the guy wrote a book called The Technology Republic, okay, and that tells you how he's looking at the world of the future. I'm not so sure that his conclusions are without, he's basically a Silicon Valley guy that talks about how individuals were making money so that you get food faster, or you could go shopping faster, you could take travel, and that is consumer focused. He wants you to do that in terms of helping the country and the government. And so it's kind of an interesting, I own Palantir, okay, I own 100 shares of his stock at $62. It went to 120, back to 70, back to 93 yesterday. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I'm aware of. Change. You're looking at a guy, by the way, that's a Luddite, so remember that.
Mario, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a question.
Who is that?
That's me right here. Now,
I don't hear him.
Go back to talking about change. And if we were to jump all the way back to 77 or whatnot, and you had the chance, you had that crystal ball looking forward, would you actually believe the market conditions and like the Mag 7, what's driving the market, all of the technological advances we have seen today, would you have believed it?
Yeah, why not? You know, come on, they had, in 1977, they had a whole bunch of things. A fax machine? Wow. I used to use an abacus. Not joking. They came up with a, what do you call it thing? A calculator. The rate of technology is the best thing that we can do is to change the world. Everybody thinks you're going to have a high unemployment. We're going to create new jobs and new capacities and different reasons. And we're all going to do this from a new planet on Mars. Come on. The world is going to change. You are responsible for it. How do we create food? How do we create and solve the water challenges? Just because you're here and there's all the water around you, how do we convert that to different types of water? How do we solve the waste problem? How do we solve PFAS, the forever chemicals in the environment? How do we solve? That's what you're going to do. This is change and opportunity. Red dye number 40. My cereals are not going to have it anymore. I went on, there's a company in Chicago. They make cottage cheese. That was a new product they were introducing on top of what they had, which is probiotics for your health, called kefir. One of my analysts says, you know, there were 30,000 recommendations on their product in TikTok. So you got to learn how the communications and But then you gotta believe, you know, Elizabeth Holmes saw it. I'm not knocking her, I'm just pointing out. No comment, I should not have done that. There's people that come up with different ideas, okay? That may not work.
Mr. Gabelli, so from a value standpoint, when you're going to different conferences and earnings of small cap companies, what characteristics, either fundamentally or behaviorally, will allow you to take on that extra risk from a value standpoint of a smaller cap company?
I don't look on it as extra risk, okay? If I have a company that gets recurring revenues, has a cash generating device, and I'm following it for 10 years, I'll give you the company. There's a company in Milwaukee called Badger Meter. Badger Meter takes a water meter and puts it on a house and can detect how much consumption there is. So the guy that went around to have to read your water meter would take, the water company would take that and install it so they eliminate that job. But what they're also doing is solving any water flow problems, because if you're basically consuming more at an extraordinary rate during certain times of year, they know there's a leak in the house. That's helping solve the water challenges. So by following this company for a long period of time, the two individuals that were running it, I'm not knocking them, okay? I know we have a law school, and the only one, they were lawyers. They were not focused on economics 101. And they did an okay job. They bring in a new guy, and the stock goes from $40 to $200 in 3 years, because he's just taken what they're doing and accelerating the strengths that they had. So some of you are going to be able to do that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You go over to Fall River, and they have a cosmetics and toiletry company in an old warehouse that probably did linens. Yeah. So, you know, just do it. I don't know. That doesn't answer his question.
We have one over here, Mario.
All right, please. Thank you for your patience.
No, I have a question.
Put your names in a hat.
I had a question. This is not the end of the session. So my question is a little bit to kind of move away from, you know, the financial stuff. You know, a lot of things that we do in life is a team sport. You know, building organizations, running organizations, and you've done so much of it in so many different companies. My question to you is that, you know, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what kind of leadership do you think actually works from your experience? You know, what...
Me, leadership?
Yes.
Oh, a firm would be worth $200 billion if I had leadership. No, I don't have any. I don't want to do anything. I just want people to do it. So I hired teammates, and some are not going to do it. I had a guy that I hired, grew up in Florida, came to New York. We had 3 snowstorms, and weather was particularly uninspiring for about 3 weeks, and one of the companies you had to visit was in LA. Mario, I quit. I had another guy grow up in Miami. He went to work for another company there. You can't. You know what? If I was a good leader, instead, our stock sells at $25, 25 million shares, $600 million market cap. I have another job in the I spun off another company that's in the M&A business, and they do arbitrage and convertibles and stuff like that. I'm also, in my midnight job, I run telephone companies that are in rural America. Okay, and that one's easy.
But Mario, can you tell the class, when you go into a particular company, and we all know you keep always talking about the quality of management. That's always been the thing from the value side. What are you looking for the management as, you know, they're generating revenues, cash flows? What makes them so strong?
Well, first of all, I don't do it that way. I start off by looking, I cannot parachute into company A and come to a conclusion on company A. So when I looked at Badger Meter, I already covered all the electric utility, water company. I covered all of the water companies in the United States. There are 40,000 municipal water companies. How do they get rid of PFAS? So when I would go in and look at a company like Spotify, what are their recurring revenues? Why would anybody pay $12 a month to listen to music when you had a tape recorder at home? And if you're paying $12 a month, I'm Taylor Swift. How much of that do I get? How do I get it for my the entity that has my copyright? So we like to look at an ecosystem of a company, and then we look at the data. Today, there's a company, I read the annual report. located in Stamford, Connecticut. The company's name is Crane, C-R-A-N-E. The symbol is CR. 55 million shares. The stock is 150. 55 times 150 is 8 billion. Small cap company in today's world. The annual report lays out everything you want to know. What is the gross margin? What's cost of goods sold? How do they sell? How do they market? Who is the management? And so you look at that, you visit the company, you go to their conferences, you visit. I've been visiting this company for 40 years, but this is one of their better annuals. So you look at change. You look at what they're looking at. So you just can't today jump into one company and say, I'm going to know all about it, like NVIDIA. Or like NAI. When you look at Tesla with, what's his name, Elon Musk, the company, when you take the number of shares out and you multiply it with the price, you're talking about $900 billion for this company. For that amount, I could buy every company in the internet. I can buy Disney, Comcast, I can buy Netflix out here, they're up to $400 billion. Every TV station operator, every Paramount, Warner Brothers. So what is the value of what I'm doing for my clients? The end game is not to accumulate knowledge. The end game for me is to make money for the client, risk adjusted. How much money does the client need before they get worried about retirement, before they worry about getting a need for something else, creating 529s for their family members? So that's the objective of what we do. Private wealth, institutional markets are different. So when I go to Riyadh, never mind. For PIF, that's something else.
Well, that is important, though.
To who?
To you. Other people, other questions. Oh, wait, one up here.
Come on, if you have to leave and you got classes, please, I absolve you.
So I'm going to take it back into finance a little bit. So obviously we know that when you're looking at a publicly traded company, it's easy to find comparables and determine multiples to evaluate a company. However, bring it to the private equity side of things, talk about PMD with a catalyst. So I'm curious as to how you kind of weigh these catalysts into your multiples.
Okay, that's a great question. Let's do it a different way. Private equity. We used to know them as bootstrap financing. They became then leveraged buyouts. Private equity goes out and endowments at universities, Taft-Hartley accounts, individuals. Why do I want to have money in private equity? I go in and somebody comes to me, let's assume my name is Henry Kravis. I'm going to offer you, we have these skill sets of identifying companies, we're going to buy them, and we're going to leverage them, and we're going to reduce costs, and we're going to change the structure, and we're going to add on and do tuck-ins. And over the next 5 years, we're going to buy it at $25 billion, and we're going to sell it at $80 billion, and the leverage on this is going to make you X, Y, Z. They charge 2% and 20%. So when they invest that and take the money down, they make that fee. So that is the holy grail of what they're doing, and that is, so now I invest in it, I put money in, I got a 10-year life. How do I get my liquidity? They have to sell something for me to get my money back. And certain times in the cycle, they can't sell things because IPOs are not available, and they can't do club deals because there's too many dynamics. More technology than you want, dynamics than you want to know. From my end, when I look at I was going to call it Alphabet, call it Google. Our Alphabet is the name of the public company. They made an announcement that they're going to buy a company called Wiz. $32 billion. The guys that created it are going to do okay. I come up with a food company the other day. I didn't buy a bottle, I almost drank it. Poppy. Anybody have Poppy? They came up with that idea. They sold it for X dollars to Pepsi Cola. I'm going to cut the number, $1.5 billion. So you come up with an idea on food. How does that help? And what value did Pepsi Cola put on it? Were they looking at growth? Were they looking at improved gross margins? Or were they looking at an entry into a new product that they couldn't self-develop because it already had momentum? That's a strategic buying it. Okay, so You know, from my end, if I want to buy a movie studio, you know, that's something I can look at content, what do they have in the pipeline? There's a variety of things that they can benefit from. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for coming in. Anybody can look like a genius in a bull market. You've been, and you've talked about it, you went through a few recessions in your lifetime. So how do you navigate those, and what are your biggest life lessons coming out of those?
Recessions are economic, they define it as an economic contraction of 2 straight quarters with down real GDP. Okay, how do you calculate real GDP? I don't want to give you an economics 101 because I don't know it. But in any event, you take the consumer, 70% of the economy, you take the industrials, 12% of the economy, you get government spending, and then you have imports, exports. Right now, the other day, I walked into what do you call it thing, a deli. What I didn't realize is the door I walked into was a separate part of the deli called XYZ, and it was a place that sold alcohol. There was a guy in there buying 3 cases of wine. I talked to the woman, oh yeah, they're all worried about prices going up. What's happening is that people and businesses are anticipating an increase in cost for tariffs, so they're loading up. If you do that, that increases your imports. If you do that, that reduces your GDP in the United States. So the first quarter, in about 3 weeks, they're going to start talking about how we're entering an economic recession. Who cares? The point is, I have companies that are doing recurring revenues or have cyclicality, and they'll take advantage of that to make acquisitions for people that get nervous and concerned. So I look on those recessions that I came through. The other part, from a valuation point of view, if I have company X, and they sell a product like cars, and you go from 16 million cars, which will be sold at the run rate in the last month, and they drop down to 12, you pay less. At 16 million, right now I'm paying a lower multiple for cyclical peak, and I'll pay a higher multiple for trot. So you adjust the multiples you pay. There's a guy that is on our conference schedule that I met him about X number of years ago. So my biggest mistake in my career is I should have played golf and put the money into Berkshire Hathaway and just sat back. We own stock at $3,000. Yesterday it was $785,000. Okay? When I met Warren, because he went to Columbia, and I had the same professor that succeeded Graham Dodd, Roger Murray, and Roger taught us security analysis. So I was very lucky, much like you guys have DACA, as much as you have all of your other faculty that are teaching you various facets of what is going to be important in your life. Just work hard. I used to say 5 to 9. You can adjust that. Bottom line, those are the dynamics that we look at. What was the other one?
Well, one more question.
What was the balance of that question?
What was the last part? Did you have a last part to that?
Oh,
or
yeah.
You answer your question.
How did you navigate through those recessions? What was your biggest life lesson?
We've had companies that we make that are highly levered and go bankrupt. You know, you all raised your hand when I said the Celtics, so you must have been a fan of that baseball team in Boston. What's it called? The Green Sox. There's a guy that played baseball in 1942, Ted Williams. I made the year up. Ted Williams batted .400, one of the best players in the last 80 years. He made out 3 out of 5 times. You're going to make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time. I pick stocks that go down. Stuff happens. Why? Somebody had a product that innovated their product. For example, if you got cataracts or you need lenses or something like that, what is going on with laser surgery, blah, blah, blah. So question. So I'm going to make mistakes all the time. The answer is overcome them, move along, and keep going as long as your batting average is .400.
So looking back from where you are today and seeing all of us in similar positions, what would you say is like the best decisions you made back when you were our age that you made to get where you are today?
I never thought about that. My parents never spoke English. My parents never went past the 6th grade. I had a grandfather that died in the coal mining in western Pennsylvania. I was very fortunate. I grew up in a part of the city where I could walk in the street and negotiate at the age of 6 or 5. And so I always worked for myself to earn cash flow. Okay, I started caddying when I was 12, and the place I caddied at had an age limit of 13. I thought I was 13. I must have misspoke. So I then was not able to carry doubles there, so I went to another course. And on that other course, I caddied for a guy by the name of Whitey Boyd, who was the pro, and he had a son by the name of John Boyd. So I feel that Angela Jolie is a friend of mine. You know, why not just get a job and create your own business? Hire the guy on your left, pay him, the minimum wage is 15, give him 8. And give an incentive, a commission. Go out and sell something. Sales and marketing. Someone in this room has an idea on a food ingredient product. Okay? What works? Like I have an individual that graduated from XYZ in marketing. So she wanted to start a company with one of her classmates, and they're doing a Buffy, which is a certain type of food product. So I gave her some money. Meanwhile, she's working day to day at our job. Is the company you're going to work for flexible enough to do that? Is there compliance problems? Is there other things? You just have to be practical. The answer is, think about starting something today. Who in that room is going to do it with you? And then if you move on. When I was at a school, never mind. I was the president of my senior class, but I had the only sit-in that Fordham ever had in its history. I organized it. It wasn't a fortune thing.
Rebel.
No, it was practical. I needed money for the school. And in college, the liberal arts school was taking all the money for running the dances. And my two friends were my partners in a different business, so I knew I'd get their attention. We organized dances off campus. They were the marketing guys, and I was the practical person. I would organize the beer. I would get the beer, the booze, and the bouncers. And they would bring the guests in. John, Mario, and Donald. John is now the dean at Smith, or was. The other guy, unfortunately, did something for Rockefeller Institute and did extremely well, but passed on. So just pick someone. Who's want to start some business right now? I got a guy that'll help you finance it and work with you. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Mario. But I'm going to invite someone to thank on behalf of all of us. And this is our newest Gabelli scholar, who's a freshman here. And so Ian Bricker and Sam, do you want to come over for a little something from us?
Is it Ian? Well, congratulations. And this is the previous one. Well, it's your old news. Yeah, I got that part. Ian?
Yeah, everyone hear me? Okay. My name is Ian Bricker. I am currently, I'm honored to be this year's recipient of the Gabelli Scholarship. I am an accounting and economics major here at Roger Williams, and I am just incredibly grateful for the support that you provide for our school and the opportunities it opens for students like me. I'd like to start by extending a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Gabelli for joining us today. And Mr. Gabelli, your generosity and dedication to education have made a tremendous impact on this business school and all the students in it. Reflecting on today's talk, I can confidently say that it's left us all with a renewed sense of motivation and excitement for our futures in the business world. Insights shared today serve as a reminder of the future we have as future business leaders and the importance of lifelong learning, innovation, and resilience. I also want to take a moment to express my gratitude for the Gabelli Scholars Program. This scholarship is more than just financial assistance. It serves as a symbol of encouragement, mentorship, and belief in the next generation of business professionals. The opportunities it provides are invaluable, and I am beyond grateful for it. Once again, thank you, Mr. Gabelli, so much for your generosity, and thank you everyone here for being here today and to celebrate the success of business in our futures.
We have a small token of appreciation. I know
front in a minute. Hey, Ian, congratulations. Thanks. I don't remember. 5 in the morning to 9. Okay, you got it. Thank you for everyone. But more importantly, the token for my appreciation is your hard work and the ability for you to change the world that needs your help. And I'm counting on it, and 40 years from now, I'll be around looking at what you've done. From somewhere down below or somewhere above you. Work in progress. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.